We are back live because, of course, someone messed with my freaking computer and put on some different Wi-Fi. And it was the ass Wi-Fi. We got two Wi-Fis for some reason. The other one is absolute dog doo-doo. And it always crashes my live stream. And god dang, Rob Font versus Adrian Yanez just got announced right now. Like, as I am speaking, it just got announced. Yeah, let's go. Let's go. That's good. I do like that. I do like that indeed. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Rob Font versus someone else. Rob Font versus Adrian Yanez. What card did I get set for? I don't know which one. Rob Font versus Adrian. April 8th. April 8th? What? That's so far. April 8th. That is crazy. When is the April 8th? What's the April 8th card? Let's see. That's so far away. Why are they doing it in April? April. Oh my gosh, March, April. Yeah, that's got to be a main event, right? It's just in the works for the event. Is it 5 rounds? Is it 3 rounds? What is it? God dang. But everyone joining the stream right now, we got Rob Font, Adrian Yanez just got announced for April 8th, but I don't know if it's a main event or not. I have zero clue. Nothing is saying. Is it the damn main event? Yeah, I don't know. Everyone's just saying they got announced for April 8th, but they're not saying if it was 5 rounds, if it's 3 rounds, if it's a main event, if it's a co-main event. I don't know. What is it? Shit. Well, that's some bull. I was just talking about bantamweight fights that have not been announced, and then boom! We got Adrian Yanez taking on Rob Font. So let's put those guys here. Adrian Yanez. Alright, let's go on to YouTube. Did I even put the thumbnail in? I don't know. Yeah, I did. Alright, sorry. Little scuffed beginning of the live stream. Just right when I started the live stream, I got a notification for boom, Rob Font, Adrian Yanez just announced. And I don't know if it's a main event. I don't know if it's a co-main event. I don't really know. Not too sure. What? They're saying that's not a main event. That's UFC 287. What? That's wild. That is wild. They're saying that's a pay-per-view UFC 287. So they're not even trying to make 5 rounds of violence. Between Rob Font and Adrian Yanez, they want to make it 3 rounds? Oh, that's disappointing. Well, that's disappointing there. Jesus. Why would they do that? Why would they do that? It's a perfect 5-round fight. It is a perfect 5-round fight. Oy. I don't know. Alright, well, we'll find Nick Diaz then, real quick. Nick Diaz. He is a middleweight. I knew it. I thought the Robbie Lawler fight, wasn't that in middleweight? That was in middleweight. You're right. I was right about that. Alright, so Nick Diaz. Who the heck do we want Nick Diaz to fight? As we go on to our MMA news topic. In the UFC PI, the General is taking over the UFC PI. We got Nick Diaz training for his next fight inside of the UFC, working at the UFC PI in Las Vegas. His last fight was a middleweight fight with Robbie Lawler. Before that, a George St. Pierre and Anderson Silva and a Carlos Condit fight. Was on one of the biggest win streaks of all time. No, I'm just kidding. But a good win streak nonetheless right there inside and outside of the UFC. And now I'm trying to figure out who do we give Nick Diaz, because he's training for a fight. He's at the UFC PI, he's working, and he's trying to get another fight inside of the UFC. And he is a middleweight fighter now. Not a welterweight fighter, he's a middleweight fighter. And who in the world in the UFC's middleweight division are we going to give Nick Diaz after he looked so gosh dang horrible in his last fight with Robbie Lawler, who's also looked so gosh dang horrible in his last few fights? It's not going to be a newcomer, obviously. Not going to be any one of these up-and-coming kills. Let's give him Bo Nickel. No, we got to give him a veteran that he's at least got a shot to win, or the veteran can also win the fight. And it'll be a good fight, a nostalgic fight, something like that. But who the heck do we give Nick Diaz in this dang middleweight division? Because there's not really Ponzinibbio, maybe? I mean, Ponzinibbio, I don't know why, but he's 114th in the middleweight division for some reason. I don't know why. Who in the world? Or do we give him a welterweight that we're just going to make that welterweight move up to the middleweight division? I don't know. Who do we give to Nick Diaz? This has been on my mind for a while, but now that I'm seeing him in the UFC PI, we got to find a good matchup for him. Bryan Barberena, no. Bryan beat Robbie Lawler. Robbie Lawler beat him. So we're not going to do that one. Got to go lower in these rankings here. So nobody in the top 50. Those guys are killers in the UFC's welterweight division. Matt Brown would be decent, because he also lost to Bryan Barberena, Carlos Condit. He's fighting a lot of these veterans. Donald Cerrone, Diego Sanchez, Ben Saunders. Only like two up-and-comers in his last like 7 or 8 fights. You know, Matt Brown wouldn't be too bad of a fight. Wouldn't be too bad of a fight. He already fought Robbie Lawler. There's Nate Diaz. We do Nate Diaz versus Nick Diaz. I don't know. I don't know if anyone really makes sense right now. He's not in the UFC anymore. Gleison Tebow. I would have to say Matt Brown is like the only option I see. That's it. It's really only Matt Brown as a possible fight I can ever see in the back of my mind that I can see them giving to Nick Diaz at this point in his MMA career. Is pretty much only Matt Brown. That's it. That is it. That is all. I don't know anyone else that would make sense. And I mean, Angelusa, no. There's so many up-and-comers in this welterweight division. Court McGee, maybe? But Court McGee isn't like that well-known of a veteran. Matt Brown's a little bit more well-known because he's got like the most knockouts in the UFC's lightweight or welterweight division. He's got a lot of freaking knockouts in his MMA career. So that's what I'm going to go with. That's what I'm going to go with. Matt Brown versus Nick Diaz on the prelims of a pay-per-view. Second fight on a pretty bad pay-per-view. Something like that. Give both of them a chance to go out there and get a good win. I think Matt Brown would probably win at this point. He was able to knock out Diego Lima, Ben Saunders, Diego Sanchez with that elbow. That was nasty. That elbow was freaking nasty from Matt Brown. But I think Matt Brown versus Nick Diaz would make some sense. What do y'all think? Who should Nick Diaz fight next? Next one in the UFC. This is not UFC. Let's go Bellator. No. There's a guy named Bellator? Really? Alright, Bellator 290. Bader versus Fedor. Or Bader versus Emelianenko in the UFC. In the Bellator's heavyweight division. Bellator 290 co-main event has changed from Yoel Romero, Vadim Nemkov to Johnny Eblen and Anatoly Tolkov, with the main event, Bader versus Fedor 2. We got the rematch in that one. We got some good fights on the first Bellator card of 2023. We're not going to look at the prelims or anything. A lot of up-and-comers on the prelims that we're only going to look at in this video is going to be that co-main event and that main event, and give my early predictions for these two fights. Johnny Eblen versus Anatoly Tokov. Anatoly is 31-3, not as tall, not as lengthy. He's got very good wrestling, very good grappling, and ground and pound. Was able to TKO Mohamed Abdullah in round number 1, get a lot of other ground and pound and finishes on the ground as well, but is nowhere near as good of a striker as Johnny Eblen. Johnny hits like a truck. He's got some good power in his hands, so my early prediction here is, yeah, there might be some good scrambles, a few takedowns, a submission attempt here and there, but it'll mainly be a 5-round striking fight in my opinion, and I think Johnny Eblen retains that Bellator middleweight belt and wins the unanimous decision. As for the main event, Bader versus Fedor, similar in height, similar in reach, little edge for both guys. Fedor probably going to be a little bit bigger, but really not that much of a size difference for either guy right here. Fedor actually came off a knockout win on Tim Johnson about a year ago, which is pretty insane in my opinion there. But this is Fedor Emelianenko's final fight as a professional MMA fighter. His final fight ever after beating some great guys in his entire career. Title challenger Chael Sonnen, champion Frank Mir, Quinton Jackson, I believe, was also a champion. Tim Johnson, former UFC fighter. Pedro Hizzo, I believe, was a UFC champion right there. Dan Henderson, title challenger. Silva, title challenger. Fabricio Werdum, champion. Gegard Mousasi, I believe, was a title challenger, at least a Bellator champion. Andrei Arlovsky, champion. Tim Sylvia, champion. Mark Hunt, I believe, was a title challenger. Antonio Rogerio Nogueira, Kevin Randleman, Mark Coleman. The names go on and on and on. Do I think he's going to add Ryan Bader to that list? I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm sadly going to be saying, for my prediction here, between Fedor versus Bader, I'm going to have to go Ryan Bader to win this fight. I think Ryan Bader, I don't think he's going to finish him. I think this one will go a little bit longer. And it'll be a pretty good fight. I think Ryan wins 3 or 4 rounds here. Fedor will win 1 round, get close to a finish, rock Ryan Bader at the end of one of the rounds, make it an interesting fight, but I'm going to have to go Ryan Bader to win. I hope Fedor wins. I will be betting on Fedor to win right here. He's going to be the underdog. He's going to have some good plus money. But if I'm thinking about it logically, I'm going to have to go Ryan Bader to win a close competitive decision. Bellator 290 Bader versus Fedor. After that one, we go on to the UFC's lightweight. I guess you can call it the lightweight division. We go on to Tapology 284 Perth, Australia. This card's looking good, except for all the freaking fights that have been canceled. So sad. Whitaker versus Costa, Kai Kara versus Perez, Malarkey versus Nasrat. The prelims are stacked. But all those main card fights, oof, absolutely oof. But we go on to the UFC's lightweight division. Charles do Bronx Oliveira makes his prediction or his pick for Alexander Volkanovski versus Islam Makhachev. The former champion in Oliveira coming off that submission loss in round number 2 to Islam Makhachev with that arm triangle choke submission. Before that, he was the dominating lightweight. He wasn't really dominating. He was always getting rocked in a lot of his fights, but the finishing lightweight champion in Charles do Bronx Oliveira. And now the next challenger has made his face known in Alexander the Great Volkanovski, the featherweight champion and the number 1 pound for pound fighter in the world. Number 1 versus number 2. Who does Charles do Bronx Oliveira have winning? Now, a lot of people go on Makhachev, 63% of Tapology go on Makhachev, 37% go on Volkanovski, having Makhachev as a little bit less than a 2-1 favorite. Alexander is the lengthier guy, but nowhere near as tall, and he's a little bit older than Islam. Both guys have one loss on their record, with Volkanovski having a little bit more wins. But who does Oliveira have winning? Let's see in 3, 2, 1. They are two great fighters. Alex is a fighter that defends takedowns very well. He hits and kicks very hard, explains the former champion. On the other side, Islam has very good takedowns. When he gets you down, he puts on the pressure. Oliveira continued, I think Islam wins, but if Volkanovski defends the takedowns in the first round and connects with the hands, I think he's got a chance. I think Volkanovski does have a chance. So, the former UFC lightweight champion has Islam Makhachev beating Alexander Volkanovski. Did not mention if he thinks it's going to be a submission, if he thinks it's going to be a decision or anything like that. Personally, I got Islam by submission in round number 2, round number 3, round number 4. One of those middle rounds. I don't think it's going to be the last round, and I don't think it's going to be round number 1. But Oliveira, I mean, he just has Islam winning the fight. He thinks he's going to out-wrestle him, out-grapple him, and maybe get the finish on the ground. Who do y'all have? Volkanovski or Islam Makhachev? After that one, to the welterweight division. Let's see if we can find UFC Fight Night. Yeah, Umar Nurmagomedov on the prelims is horrible. Javid Bashara on the prelims is also pretty goddamn horrible. That's not good. That's not good. All right. Where was it? Shavkat Rakhmonov in the welterweight division. How do you become an expert on MMA? I'm not an expert on MMA. I'm just giving my thoughts, my guy. But I have been watching for about a decade. What is your early prediction for Sean Brady? Michel Pineda. Michel, very close, very controversial. Split decision. But we got some news in the welterweight division. Shavkat Rakhmonov has accepted a Brian Bam Bam Barberena fight. Brian Barberena said, Neil is out. We're supposed to fight before on short notice. Nobody wants to fight you, Shavkat Rakhmonov. F it, make it at 180 pounds, and I'll see you there. Shavkat Rakhmonov says, why not? Let's do it for the fans. At Brian Barberena. And Brian responded right after that. Mad respect. Let's blank and go at UFC, at Sean Shelby, at Dana White. Let's make this official. Send the contract. Let's get it done, says Brian Bam Bam Barberena. Now, the original fight was going to be Jeff Neal and Shavkat Rakhmonov, but Jeff Neal withdrew from some sort of undisclosed injury. I'm not sure what the injury was, but he ended up withdrawing from the fight. We can speculate all we want. If he was just running from Shavkat Rakhmonov, I don't believe any of that. I believe Jeff Neal actually wanted the fight. But now, Shavkat accepts to fight Brian Barberena. We might get this at the first UFC fight night of the year. Shavkat Rakhmonov taking on Brian Barberena could be the new co-main event for their first UFC fight night of the year. Parlay Shavkat all over the place if you're betting on this fight. That's all I gotta say. But what do y'all think? Shavkat versus Brian Bam Bam Barberena. Who wins? Obviously Shavkat wins, but if you go down there and write Brian Barberena, I'm going to block you from the channel. I'm going to find a way, because Brian Barberena is not going to win this fight. But put your thoughts down below. And yeah, like and subscribe. I'm just kidding. All right, after that one, we go on to the lightweight division. Donald Cerrone roided up to the freaking gills. Let's check it out. I've looked at Donald Cerrone's recent Instagram photos and things like that, and the dude is so juiced. He is so juiced to the gills, all the way through his veins. It is absolutely insane. Donald Cerrone right here. It is insane. Let's check it out. Look at this dude right here. Donald Cerrone with the veins popping right there. Everyone in the comments saying Swole Cerrone, Swole Roni. I don't know what they're saying. And the TRT Cowboy coming in hot, and he's not denying it. We know, he knows, everybody knows. Donald Cerrone is on some sort of steroids, TRT, something. I don't know what specifically, but he is on something. And right now, sorry, but that right now, in a comment on someone asking him if he would like to fight Jake Paul, would I like to fight him? How could I say no to millions of dollars? I would definitely go out there and do it, says Donald Cerrone. Now, I don't know if Jake Paul is also on some sort of steroids. There's a possibility, but to make it even, you gotta let Jake Paul do it. If Donald Cerrone is obviously doing it, you gotta let Jake Paul do it as well, and possibly have this boxing match in 2023. I doubt it's gonna happen, because that would kind of be going back from Anderson Silva to Donald Cerrone. Seems like a step back in competition, in my opinion. But what do y'all think if they were to fight Cerrone, juice to the gills, versus Jake Paul? Who do y'all think would win and why? I'd probably go Jake Paul. I mean, it's another very old veteran. Yet another one. Tyron Woodley, Ben Askren, Anderson Silva, and maybe now Donald Cerrone. Put your thoughts down below. Next one in the flyweight division, Muhammad Mokaev is set for surgery after getting a dislocated shoulder. Alhamdulillah. In any situation, unfortunately, I have dislocated my shoulder. Sad face. Now, I will wait for the operation. Thanks to all my supporters. I'll be back as soon as possible. I promise you. Love you all. And he is trying to fight at UFC 286 in England. I believe that's going to be the London, in the O2 Arena card. The number 14 ranked UFC flyweight in the world. I mean, he's been calling out everyone. Kai Kara France, who just had a fight get canceled. He was calling out Brandon Royval. He was calling out Alex Perez, Amir Albazi, Matt Schnell, David Dvorak. Man's calling out everyone, but if someone does accept, he is trying to fight at UFC 286, but this does make it a lot harder for Muhammad Mokaev, because there's a chance he might not even be on that UFC 286 card due to this injury. But I don't know. It might recover in time. It is March. We still have 3 months to go. Possibly it could take him out of that fight card, but if it does not take him off UFC 286, who do y'all think he should face at that UFC 286 pay-per-view? Amir Albazi, Alex Perez, Kai Kara France, Alessandro Pantoja, or someone else that I'm not even mentioning in the video? Put your thoughts down below. Who should Mokaev fight next? And now, for the last MMA news topic of the day. We got a lot of news today. A lot of news. The last one we got is not showing. Did it not? We might have to refresh the page. All right, there we go. In the UFC's bantamweight division, let's go back one. In the bantamweight division, Rob Font and Adrian Yanez has been made in the works. Is not official, not 100% sure that the fight is going to be happening, but it is in the works for April 8th, which right now is set to be UFC 287. Mike Heck, not 100% done yet as the fight, but very, very close. I'm told it's slated to be the date for UFC 287. That's why nobody's saying it's going to be a 5-round fight. This is going to be a 3-round bantamweight war and boxing match between Adrian Yanez and Rob Font in the UFC bantamweight division. The number 6 and number 13 bantamweights in the world, the two top tier boxers, I'd say probably the two best boxers in the UFC's bantamweight division. Maybe like a Marlon Vera or something like that. Piotr Jan could be better boxers, but is an amazing fight. Adrian Yanez is a 29-year-old up-and-comer in this bantamweight division, taking on the veteran 35-year-old who's been in the UFC for about 8 years now, beating guys like Matt Schnell, Douglas Silva de Andrade, Sergio Pettis, Ricky Simon, Marlon Moraes, and Cody Garbrandt, only losing to ranked fighters at one point in their careers like Aldo, Marlon Vera, Rafael Assunção, Pedro Munoz, and John Lineker. My early prediction, I got Adrian Yanez. I want to say TKO. I want to say TKO because he's been getting TKO after TKO after TKO after TKO. But at one point in every mixed martial artist careers, even if they're getting finish after finish after finish, they get that one step up in competition where they win, but it does test them a little bit and the fight does go all the way. So I'm going to go Adrian Yanez by a decision. I believe this is worthy of being on the main card of UFC 287. And I am going to go Adrian Yanez by a decision. What do y'all think? Yanez or Rob Font? Banger fight in the bantamweight division. Number 13 versus number 6 or number 7. What was number 6 in Rob Font? Put your thoughts down below. In the works. So it's not official just yet. In the works for UFC 287. Yes. All right, let's check them comments. Shavkat, round 1, TKO or submission. I agree. Jake Paul, because rigged. Yeah, probably. You think Erin could get a title shot if she beats Santos? It's not if, she will. She will get that title shot. Thoughts on MMA Joey being visibly the fattest MMA YouTuber? I'm not surprised, mofo. Bert, what is up? What is up? G.E. Espinoza. Font Schoolson. I don't think so. I think it's going to be a very close 29-28 decision going either way. Bing, ba-da-ding, dun, 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 dun. Bert, I missed you. I miss you too, G.E. Espinosa. Bert's back from being grounded. Heck yeah, I was not grounded. I was just gone for a little bit. All right, now for the middleweights. Let's check it out. Let's go to the rankings. Let's go to the middleweight rankings. And let's talk about these fights. So, we go on to the UFC's middleweight division. Alex Poatan Pereira becoming the UFC middleweight champion was absolutely perfect for the UFC. It was absolutely perfect for Alex Pereira. Even though it might sound stupid to say, it was perfect for Israel Adesanya. It was perfect for Jerry Cannonier. It was perfect for Sean Strickland. Every single fighter in the UFC's middleweight division, top 15, Alex Pereira winning that fight and coming back in round number 5 was absolutely perfect. The best case scenario that could have happened there. I mean, if it was a draw, that would have been horrible. If it was a win for Israel Adesanya, that would have been pretty bad for a lot of the fighters in that top 15 of the middleweight division. But now that Alex Pereira has gone up there and beaten Israel Adesanya, it was good for every single man in that top 10, top 15 of the middleweight division. And here is why. Alex Pereira just dethroned the man who has beaten everybody in the top 10. Literally not a single guy in the top 10 except for like the guys that just now, like weeks ago, like less than a month ago, got into the top 10. He has beaten everyone, or he has beaten someone that has beaten them. Let me show you. Robert Whittaker, Adesanya knocked him out in the first fight, I believe in round number 2. No fan is out here. I mean, hardcore fans like me, other hardcores that saw how close and how technical and how good of a fight Robert Whittaker versus Israel Adesanya was, they want to see a trilogy. I'm really looking forward to Adesanya Whittaker 3. I think that's an amazing fight. But more casual fans, none of those casuals are tuning into a third Adesanya versus Whittaker. It's going to be the same thing, another boring fight. We've already seen Adesanya win twice, so why would we want to see it again? It's like one of those Usman versus Covington. Yes, I would love to see Usman Covington 3, but Usman has already beaten Covington twice in the UFC's welterweight division. It's the same scenario. Literally the exact same scenarios happen in both welterweight and middleweight. You go down below that, Jared Cannonier. Adesanya has already beaten Jared Cannonier. Jared just beat Sean Strickland in his last fight. But do we want to see Jared versus Adesanya again? No. Nobody wants to see Jared Cannonier versus Israel Adesanya for the belt again. A main event of a pay-per-view. Nobody wants to see that. And he's like the number 3 contender. Marvin Vettori, we've already seen that twice. Adesanya beat him by decision twice. Neither of those two fights were outstanding, amazing, banger fights that any of us have seen. So again, nobody really wanted to see Vettori versus Adesanya for a third time, even if he did go out there and beat Whitaker. Derek Brunson, Adesanya has already beaten him, then he lost to Jared Cannonier. There's really no need to do a Derek Brunson fight. Paulo Costa, he just lost in his last fight pretty dominantly to Marvin Vettori, and then he beat Luke Rockhold after that. Luke Rockhold, where is Luke Rockhold on the rankings? Nowhere. Nowhere. It's Luke Rockhold. That's not going to do anything. I don't care if you beat Luke Rockhold. You do not deserve a title shot. Now, you're not accepting a Robert Whitaker fight. So even if Adesanya had beaten Alex Pereira at this point, none of the casuals wanted a Robert Whitaker fight. Nobody wanted a Jared Cannonier fight. Nobody wanted a Marvin Vettori fight. Derek Brunson didn't even deserve it at that point because he's coming off a loss in his last fight to Jared Cannonier. Paulo Costa, maybe some people would have wanted him because he's building a good reputation. A lot of people are becoming fans of Paulo for his Twitter use and things like that. They'd be like, oh, he just beat a former champion and Luke Rockhold. He deserves a title shot. But no, that would have not been good for Paulo to get a title shot after beating Luke Rockhold. No. Sean Strickland lost to Alex Pereira. So if Adesanya had beaten Alex Pereira and Sean Strickland somehow was just sitting there, they probably would have said Sean Strickland's probably going to be next. Nobody wants to see Sean Strickland versus Israel Adesanya. If he lost to the guy Adesanya would have just beaten. And now he lost to another guy that Adesanya has just beaten in Jared Cannonier. Go below that. At the time, Roman Dolidze was nowhere near this point in the rank. He was like number 20 in the UFC middleweight division. But his only win in the top 15 is Jack Hermansson. That is it. Jack Hermansson, a man that has lost to Marvin Vettori, who has lost to Jared Cannonier, and would probably lose to like Whitaker, to Alex Pereira, every single one of them. Dolidze is really not a fight right now. He's not really deserving. But again, if Adesanya would have won that fight against Alex Pereira, the only logical fight to make would literally be Roman Dolidze. That would be it. Now he's fighting Marvin Vettori, I know, at UFC 285. But if he had beaten Alex Pereira and Roman had gone out there and beaten Jack Hermansson like he did, they probably would have gave Roman Dolidze the fight. Hermansson's coming off a loss, so no. The only two guys they could put for Israel Adesanya would be Roman Dolidze and Dricul du Plessis. That is it. And who in the world, what casual fan is out there looking at a main event of a pay-per-view, the champion of the world versus the number 8 contender? The number 8 contender. You look at that in any other division. That's like Davison Figueiredo fighting Matt Schnell for the belt. Sterling fighting Yadong Song for the belt. Volkanovski fighting Giga Chikadze for the belt. Islam fighting Rafael dos Anjos. Sean Brady versus Leon Edwards. Alexander Volkov versus Francis Ngannou. I mean, these fights are just like, you can see the champion just so thoroughly dominating in every single one of these matchups. That would be the exact same thing for like a Roman Dolidze fight. What in the world is Roman Dolidze going to do to Israel Adesanya? So the fact that Alex Pereira won means that we're not going to have to get Adesanya to go all the way down to number 8, number 10, number 11, number 12, where all the up-and-comers are. Imavov, Muniz, du Plessis, Dolidze, Chris Curtis, all of these up-and-comers are ranked lower than number 8 in the world. So, and that would not be good for pay-per-view numbers to have a dominant champion versus the damn number 8 contender in that division. Nobody wanted a Cannonier rematch. Nobody wanted Vettori. Nobody wanted Brunson. Some people might have wanted Costa, but I mean, kind of dominated him in the first fight, and he lost to what was it, Marvin Vettori, like less than a year ago. Strickland just lost to Alex Pereira. What was the UFC gonna do at that point? A number 8 contender, or they just do a trilogy in a fight that Adesanya has already won twice, in Cannonier, in Whitaker, in Derek Brunson, and Vettori, so on and so forth. The fact that Alex Pereira went out there and won means that we're probably going to get an Adesanya versus Pereira fight again. But if Pereira wins, wow, we have some fresh matchups. We got Whitaker versus Pereira. We got a good kickboxing battle with Jared Cannonier and Alex Pereira. We got, I don't know, another fight with Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira. But, I mean, there's so many more exciting things that can happen with Pereira as a champion than having Adesanya as a champion, when he's already beaten pretty much everyone there is in the middleweight division. And now they'll do the rematch, Adesanya versus Pereira. They'll probably do Whitaker Cannonier rematch. And no matter what happens with Pereira and Adesanya, now people know Adesanya can get knocked out. Now, when Robert Whitaker tries to do the third fight with Israel Adesanya, if he's able to beat Alex Pereira, there's going to be a lot more buzz around the fight, because they know Adesanya just had a really close fight back and forth with Alex Pereira. It was actually a really exciting fight. Whitaker just had a good fight with Jared Cannonier. There's more excitement, there's more build-up, there's more finishes, there's more up and downs and crazy comebacks and things like that in the middleweight division. Pereira winning was such a good thing. It was so perfect for everyone in that middleweight division that, wow, I mean, it was amazing. It was the best thing that could have happened there. The absolute best thing that could have happened there. Because in hindsight, I mean, a lot of people were saying, oh, Israel's just going to outpoint him on the feet, maybe take him down and win a boring decision. It wasn't boring. It was a banger of a fight for the full 5 rounds. And that puts another thing in the minds, is that Adesanya had a good fight with Alex Pereira. It wasn't a boring fight, which means the next fight that he's going to have with Alex Pereira, if Adesanya fights Whitaker again, if he fights Cannonier, Vettori, Brunson, Paulo Costa again, they're not going to be remembering the Adesanya versus Yoel Romero, the Adesanya versus Marvin Vettori. They're going to remember the banger that was Alex Pereira, Israel Adesanya. It kind of boosted Israel Adesanya a little bit. Even though he lost, it still boosted him because he had a banger of a fight, not the Cannonier frozen like Osa. So it was a very good thing in my opinion. But what do y'all think about that? Was it a perfect thing, perfect best case scenario that Alex Pereira won for the UFC? And who do y'all think wins? Even after Pereira's beaten Adesanya 3 times in a row, who wins the 4th encounter? Adesanya or Alex Pereira? Jamal Hill winning? I do have Jamal Hill winning, but I'm not confident at all. What the blank? Bert cast has no Bert. I was in the bathroom, my guy. What up, Bert? What is up? Hypnotist win. Low T City Ortega. Thoughts on the new UFC signing of Sharuputin Magomedov? I always spell it wrong. Sharuputin Magomedov. I think he's very solid, got some very good power in his hands, very good finishing ability with his feet. He is 16-0, but I did hear a few of his wins on the regional scene were not actually wins. So I think a few of these fights and a few of these wins are going to get pushed out of his record, but the dude is very, very solid. 0 submissions, 13 knockouts, and 3 decisions. One of them was a while ago, a unanimous decision. Another of them was a unanimous decision. And another one of them was another decision, but against a 21-6 guy that just came off a win over a former UFC fighter in Antonio Arroyo. So he beat a guy who beat a guy that was in the UFC in Antonio Arroyo. Didn't do very good in the UFC, but he was in the UFC. He didn't get finished by Andre Muniz. That's cool, I guess. But yeah, he's pretty solid. A lot of people say Shatpudin is 11-0 and not 16-0. Don't get it. Because a few of his wins weren't actually MMA wins. They were kind of like mixed rule set wins. So they don't actually count towards your professional MMA record. You don't think Glover can submit him? Thiago took him down. I think Glover's got a very good shot at submitting him. I'm not going to bet Jamal Hill to win that fight. The only bet I'm making for that one is going to be Glover Teixeira by submission. That is it. I'm not doing any money lines. I'm not doing any underdog bets. Only thing I'm doing there, even if the prop is out, I don't know if it is, Teixeira inside the distance. I'm assuming the submission's probably going to be 2-1, 3-1 even, something like that. That's all I'm planning on doing. Is Glover Teixeira by submission. That's it. If I'm betting anything on that fight, that is it. Because there's going to be some good odds there. But, yeah, that's it. We did a lot of the MMA news for today. Replying to a lot of these comments. So any last things y'all got, we will go over them. We got to post a lot of stuff to the second channel, all the MMA news, and then some main channel videos as well. What's done? Alrighty then, thank y'all for watching today's live stream. We'll see you tomorrow around the same time. If we got some more MMA news, might do some of the early predictions and things